You're listening to The Dating Den with dating and relationship badass and best-selling author Marni Battista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important dating, sex, and relationship issues you want to know about. So if you're ready for true talk that's authentic and unfiltered, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Dating Den with Chris Gillis. How to know if a guy is ready for a serious relationship. Ladies, welcome to the Diggity Den, the Diggity Dog Den. We have so much to discuss. We are going to talk. Yeah, the finale of Bachelor in Paradise was it was like a lab. Like, I'm trying to think of like a lab, like the lab where they're trying to get out the vaccine as fast as they can.
Yeah.
You know, there's like test tubes flying everywhere. It was like a great resource for things to talk about. We're going to talk about how to break up well. We're going to talk about I love this topic. Like, when you do break up, how do you not blow up the narrative and get lost in becoming a victim to get attention? I think that's really super interesting. We're going to talk about when is age, like, is it okay to date someone older or younger? Talking about, like, trusting yourself. And I love this one, which I think we should start out with, which is how do you find out what the guy you just started dating truly thinks without leading him to say the things you want him to say? Because we have a guy, I think this is just so awesome. I feel like at Dating with Dignity, we talk always about the manimals, and we talk about one of them, the quality casual guy, who's like super, like a good quality guy, great person, good on paper, but emotionally unavailable. And we have been singing praises for James for a long time. Like, we're like, he's good looking. He seems smart. He seems sincere. Like, why can he not make a connection? And then, you know, like, seems like a good dude. And we don't know his past exactly. But all we know is that he seems to have found someone and they're totally vibing and she's really into him. And out of nowhere, he's like, it's not me. It's not you. It's me. I'm just not into you. Out of nowhere. And I feel like this happens in real life so often where you're like dating a guy. He's like, there's chemistry. Finally, you're so excited. Seems really into you. And then like literally one day he's like, never mind. What do you make? Like, I think he's just unavailable. He did say, I think I need to work on myself. I have some issues to work on in the end of the breakup. But like, what do you think about that whole situation?
We're talking about this is the same person, right? The James with the slick back hair.
Yeah. James with what was her name? Anna.
Well, I thought you were. There's a couple good topics here. The one is how do you find out where a guy's at without leading him on, and then the other is did he check out? I thought that most of these people, and I think it's really important, when you do want to figure out, test the waters of where a guy's, because we're often not great about being honest and talking about relationships and feelings and stuff. I thought that most of them did a pretty darn good job. I was impressed, with the exception of a couple of people of asking, and you're really good at that, Marni, asking, hey, so how are you feeling? But without having those expectations, which we always talk about is, true vulnerability is not needing a specific answer, but there's other people on the show, which is cool. Again, that's what I love this show. It's the test tubes on it that you can kind of set the person, lead them, throw the crumbs out there, and the guy will just keep on, like a hungry cat or dog will just keep on following the crumbs anywhere and end up in, like I did in a 7-year relationship, because I was like, I don't want to make her cry. And then in the end, it's like, you're gonna be crying. Crying's gonna happen eventually.
Right. But, underline that, ladies. You're gonna be crying eventually. Well, what do you think? So what do you think about James, like, being emotionally unavailable? Like, because he's saying the right things and he's like, oh, I just want to find a connection, and he's dating and he's going on lots of dates. He's that guy or that lady who is really good on the first date And maybe they get like a second, but by the third date or whatever, like the vibe is gone. You sort of like, it just wasn't there. Or if you're a woman and you do this, you're like, it just wasn't there. But you're like, you really want to find love. You really, and then, but like, then somebody's really into you and you're like, no, it's not the right thing. I mean, like, how many of you listening do that? I feel like that's James.
That's really interesting. I love that we have different takes, and especially when we're not sitting next to each other to break it down. So this isn't. I'm a little shocked and interested that that's the take you had on it, because I actually was like, I would have guessed Marni would say, he's dating with dignity, because he said, hey, I'm not getting there. And then he owned it. He goes, there may be some things I need to work on, but it's like, it's not.
Yeah, no, I think he broke up with her really, really well. I just think that he's not ever going to find his person until he does the work that he needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think he handled it really well. I think he said it, like what he said was great. Like, ladies, write that down. Like, if you need to break up with a guy in a dignified way, that is how you do it. And he admitted his own things, but I'm just saying, what I think is important is that if you don't do the work, right, your results will show you that you need to do the work. And if there's someone who's on paper who's into you, like Anna was, and they were only dating for like a couple of weeks or a week even, but it's like, why can't you be satisfied? Like, what's missing? I wish he would have said, and I said out loud, I was watching with Jeremy, I was like, did he say like what it was that was missing? And the answer was no.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I mean, sometimes I don't know. Maybe he was just being kinder and didn't want to say something that
I don't know. But and it was weird. Also, he didn't want to just date. That was the other thing. So on the premise of this show, like, if you're not going to get engaged, you can still agree. Like, let's just date. Like, let's just leave now and date. We know we don't want to get engaged.
Did anybody do that?
No, nobody did that. So not what I think what's interesting is the couples that ended up getting engaged were ones that have dated for the whole time, for the whole 6 or 7 weeks.
Sure.
So I think, that's an important fact. Like, you don't want to rush it. I think that it's reasonable. I know you're probably going to think I'm crazy, but I do think it's reasonable if you're of a certain age and you're really looking to find your person and you spend 24/7 with someone for 6 or 7 weeks, you could get engaged. I'm glad they're not getting married, but like, I think you could say like, I'm investing in this relationship and I'm committed to it. If you're spending 24/7 and you're in that immersive experience, I'm not going to argue with that. I know people who've been married for 20 years who, dated for 6 weeks or 2 months. So I think that's great. But the people that ended up parting ways, I think that there were some people there who, and this is again, happens in real life, they're dating just to date. Like, it's fun. They want to keep it casual. Not like it's great when it's great. And then they're not really interested in keeping it going. Our friend Aaron, is dating Tia. That was so bad. I'm really disappointed in the way he handled that. I think they made him. So if you don't watch the show, what happens is our friend James that we just spoke about has this very dignified breakup. And then he goes and he tells the boys, I've broken it off with Anna. I'm going to leave. And then he looks at his BFF dude, his bro, and was like, hey, we're both going to San Diego. Do you want to like go together? And he's like, oh yeah, hold on 1 second. And then he just grabs this woman and he's like, hey, yeah, like we're not a thing. I got to go. And then they wouldn't
even sit down. I love that. He's like, wait, can we sit? He's like, nah, I don't need that much time.
I don't need to sit down. I need that time.
It was very like 5th grade or 4th grade. Like, oh, by the way, I'm breaking up with you. Like, wait, what?
It was very 5th grade.
I'm going to go play with my friend again. What I do like, by the way, and Emily agrees here, is that we like how Aaron has got boundaries, and when you fuck him over and cross him once, he doesn't look back. And I think that's pretty honorable and admirable. There's a lot of people who waver or whatever. Like when Aaron's decided, hey, this when you show your true colors to him, like what was it Chelsea?
Yeah.
Whoever, and whatever, got Tammy, name it. He's like, nope. You're done. I gave you a chance, and then I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think, and I think that's why I love like attracts like, and so his BFF is James. Yeah. I think they're both emotionally unavailable. I think that Aaron was in it to win it at the beginning, and then he was like, never mind. I mean, I think maybe he really liked Tammy. I don't know, but what I do know is that if your guy, and I don't know this, I'm going to guess this. I think when you look at a guy and you want to know, is he really ready for a relationship? You look at, are his actions and his words matching? Is he saying a bunch of stuff, but then, having to we don't really need to talk about this kind of a thing when it gets real. Does he hang out with a bunch of like grown up children? Does he have any long-term relationship people that he hangs out with? I think all those things, I don't think they're like 100% like fact. It's going to lead one way. But I think if you look at the characters of James and Aaron and you're like, these are like good-looking guys, in their mid to late 20s. They just sort of got famous. They are wanting to date. They're having fun. They got paid X thousands of dollars to be on the show. I think they're unavailable emotionally, and I think they're just going to go to San Diego, and I think they're roommates now, I read, and have a good old time.
So what are some red flags that your gals out there can look for to spot, and so they don't invest too much time to figure out if this guy who does look great on paper is emotionally unavailable?
I think so. Quality casual means they're a quality person, but it doesn't really progress. And I think if you were dating James or you're dating Aaron and you're like, oh, ultimately not on the first date, but you're like, oh, like, when's the last time you're in a relationship? And they're like, well, I haven't had a long-term relationship in 7 years. I date. I'm looking, if I meet my favorite clause, if I met the right person, I'd totally be interested in having a committed relationship. Not all the time, but most of the time, that might be a concern, a pink flag, not red. I think, like, who are they hanging out with? What are they doing? How are they spending the time? One thing that Kenny checked in with Mari. So Kenny's 40. He's dating a 23-year-old and he wants to get married. And he's like, what's your lifestyle like? Right? Like, you have a lot of life to live. And she's like, I've been kind of raising myself for a long time. And while I'm 25, like, I am not the girl who wants to go out to bars and party and whatever. I want to do this. And he's like, okay. So that's an example of a guy who's saying like, this is my lifestyle or this is what my values are. So if you see a guy and he's like, oh, I'm going to this club and then I'm going to that club, or I'm going to do this, or I've got to do that. And he doesn't spend he's very busy doing a lot of social things. Again, you have to collect all this data in context. Right. It's not one thing. So, and we could, look online 2 days from now and James could be in a serious relationship. But I was voting for him. But when he seemed really happy and he's like, I got to go and I don't know why, it's not you, it's me. I was like, let that guy go.
Okay. All right.
What do you think? You think?
I thought you'd be like, you know what, Chris, I really like how he, she didn't make his vagina sing. That's okay. And there's no, reason to get into details and tell her why they didn't have, it was like a couple dates, like you said, it was a week or so. And so in real life world, maybe that's on a 1 to 2 dates with somebody. And he's like, nah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But like, what's weird, and this is what I think is confusing to women, is he was acting like when he was being interviewed by the producers that like he was really into her. And he was really excited about it. Right. And he was like, and that's why she said, I feel like you were leading me on, because all his signals were like, I'm really interested in you. So it is confusing, ladies. But the bottom line is when that happens, you just go, okay, that's the information that I needed, because I don't want to be with a person who doesn't want to be with me. And it doesn't have to be personal. So getting into like, oh, why does this always happen to me? I'm such a loser. No, like that. It didn't. Like, the other person I want to talk about quickly is Natasha, because I think Natasha was a great example of a very strong, intelligent woman. I don't know if she's emotionally unavailable. Maybe, can't tell. But she went on a lot of dates, but nothing was sticking. And she sort of at the end did get into the like, what's wrong with me? And I wish she wouldn't have. I was like, oh, let me help her. But But, what do you think about her situation? Do you think it was just bad luck? Do you think she was actually like more mature than all of those
That's
guys?
what I was thinking. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, you know what? She's just, she's, again, I love Aaron, dude. We be best bros, and I want to be part of I want to be a throuple with him and James. They're so hot and cute.
Right.
Cool guys. But I love that. But that's honestly, I was thinking the same thing about Natasha. I think she's just a little too grown up for the cast on here. And with the limited, she needed some more, the options she had. They just didn't, it just, like you pointed out many times, it's all, you got to date a lot of people. It's not always the first time. And I don't know about, so I don't think she's found her person yet, but I don't think this is the great Bachelor, and it's the right vehicle.
I don't think it's a good venue. I agree. Okay.
She seems awesome. Yeah.
She does seem awesome. Okay, let's talk about breaking up. So last episode, we discussed about not being clear in your breakup. We talked about Abigail and Noah, and he says, like, I love you a bunch of times. And she's like, okay. And what I really want to think about here is we saw her tell the producers and tell everyone, I really love this guy. I'm going to tell him. She doesn't tell him. What is amazing to me that I really want ladies to listen to is this version of what happened that she created in her head. Because if this were football and we could go watch the play-by-play, I'd be like, where, like, what? So what happens is, and this is the I love you called it, how to not be your own BS spin doctor when you're being broken up with. How to remember and take away the whole story and not your version. She literally was delusional. She was like, he told me he hasn't been into me for a long time.
Yep.
Like,
What the?
What else did she say? He told me that I'm not his person and that he was never into me and that he led me on and I wish you, and he just said those things, but he didn't really mean it. I was like, wow. And then here's the other thing. When we do that, we consensus build, which is what she did, right? So then she has to go tell everyone, this is what happened. She made herself the victim in the story, collecting evidence why she needs to keep her guard up, why she still needs to be closed and shut down. And then her friends, right, her community rallies around, oh, poor Abby, she's the victim. And what I really want all of our listeners to hear is that when you do that, you are creating like an energy ball, like a hurricane of I'm not enough, of negativity. We call it like the pick me, what's wrong with me energy, very, very catabolic, meaning there's a lot of cortisol and adrenaline, and like you're just so far away from your amazing self. And you are creating your results in your identity by telling the story and making it bigger. And I'm so passionate about this because I do an exercise with my clients when I get to work with them live, and I have them come up with a situation like this. And they get into partners and they tell the partner the story, right, of like this situation. And usually it takes like 5 or 6 minutes. And then I say, okay, we're going to do it again, but now you only say the facts.
Okay.
And when they do the facts, it's like a 30-second thing, which ends up like, I dated Noah. He told me he loved me. I didn't respond. He broke up with me. Right? You know what I mean? It's not like, it's all of the narration. And because her identity, and this is again huge, ladies, if you wonder why am I single? Because her identity from the beginning, from the first conversation with Noah, is I have my guard up. I need to protect myself.
Yes.
And so I believe the whole time she was looking for a reason for him to screw her over. And then when he said one thing, she was like, see, you're an asshole. Yep. What's wrong with me? Blah, blah, blah. And I
don't need to change. Right?
I don't need to change. It's all him. Because we did not get to watch it together last night. And I was texting you guys and I was just like, oh my God, this is insanity.
I'm so glad you got caught up on that. What does a person do when tears are flowing from the eyes and your nose is full of boogers and the person's breaking up and you're so caught up in those feelings and those emotions. And it's so easy and calm for us to be calm and clear and be like, hold on, let's stick to facts. So what about when you're just crushed and you're wrecked? How do you stay composed? How should it be handled? So that you can collect and learn and grow from a heartbreaking breakup.
Well, I think that's such an amazing question. And I wish I had you just do this. But one thing that I notice is that when we're able to work with someone over a longer period of time, right? There's a couple things. First, you have to feel in your heart of hearts you're enough, even though it really hurts, right? So even though you know that this sucks and it's really painful, and even there's moments where you go I'm such a loser. Why is this happening? Mm-hmm. You really, really know that you're okay, that you're enough. It just sucks and you're mad about it. So having consciousness or awareness of seeing things from the 60,000 foot view, maybe not immediately, but shortly thereafter is super helpful. So number one is you have awareness. Number two is be emotionally intelligent. And the way I define it is this: you are aware of your feelings and you can name them. Number two is you can articulate them. Number three is you can manage them. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you're in it and you're oh my God, this sucks. And this is why is this happening? And, and you're oh my God, I am so sad. I am so mad. I see myself being a victim right now. Yeah. Right. Have you ever done that where you're being such a brat and you're you're doing it and you can see yourself doing it and you're oh my God, I'm totally in my shit right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And also, what about, and then also sometimes it's either in my shit or we'll see what that the fight or flight, and Abigail and I think a lot of people, they'll do the flight, and so they take off, and then in this case it left Noah waiting outside of a bathroom for hour long till she came out. So what happens then? So if the person just is or if you just feel like you just need to run, you
gotta be so. We do so many episodes about spirituality and being with your feelings and staying in your body, and all of that is because it takes a lot of practice and stillness practice to be able to sit with your feelings and just allow them and be with them. I mean, I've had moments where I'm getting into it, even I'm getting an argument with Jeremy or we're having a disagreement, and I just have this feeling where I just want to run away, right? Or say something mean, or I just want to be a toddler, right? And I just have to sit, and it's very challenging. It takes a lot of practice, and I don't do it perfectly. But being in your body and be this is a feeling I'm having. This isn't this is created. I'm making meaning of it. What am I going to do with it?
Yep. What I wish Abigail could have done or would have done. And it sounds like eventually, there's no spoilers, but it sounds like they did finally talk. It would have been great if, even if she comes out of that bathroom and she goes and said what you said. She said, hey, names off her feelings. Hey, I'm feeling this, scared, not enough, whatever, these feelings, obviously it's your decision to break up with me. That's great. Would it be okay if I, texted you, wrote you later, talked to you later and get some clarity? Because I would like to learn from this. It's been a really wonderful experience and there's a lot of potential and, I'd like to learn and grow from this.
Well, yeah. And so when there's another breakup, which is, I think, was ridiculous, but I like the way Becca handled it. There's a character, Becca, her boy, the guy is I want to be with you. And she's I don't think we're a match. And he's he cries. And I don't know if it was real or not, but let's pretend that it was, or he's a really good actor. But what she said was I am seeing this different.
I don't think boys fake cry, by the way, everybody. Logan, why? Quiet time out. Why? Emily said the same thing. Why? What is it about? What do you girls, what do women need to see to believe us? Why did it?
Well, I would I need liquid water,
and also you need a hygrometer. Hold it up to
exactly.
Moisture level.
And also, it just seemed overly dramatic, and
it was. You're right.
It just seemed like bad acting. When you're watching a play and you're oh, wow, these people are acting right now. Yeah. When Tasha and what's her face host,
Yeah,
and they're reading this teleprompter, and you're like, wow, they're reading a teleprompter. That's what I sort of felt like with him. But regardless, he had an emotional reaction, and she was like, look, I really care about you. I'm not like, I wish I would have seen this part of you. I stand behind my decision, and period. Right. So if Noah or Abigail, someone needed to kind of like have that, like, if she could have said, wow, I'm blindsided, and he could have said, wow, I know this sounds really confusing. He didn't validate her either. Right. Like, I get, like, this is hard for you. There was a lot of lack of communication. What I like about this is that this couple's now back together and they're dating. And my guess is they ultimately, whether they watch the show, because if she watched the show, she's a very smart young woman. Okay. If she watched it back or had a conversation after, and maybe she even has a therapist, like, I would have loved for her to like go back and be like, oh my God, like, I was totally shut down, blah, blah. Because she has some self-awareness. I think that they had to have some conversation to come back from that. Yeah. I think one of the things that the Gottman Institute recommends is that when you're in the shit and you're having like an emotional thing, is that one person calls for a break or a timeout and says, I'm in a moment. I am not going to say things that are authentic. I'd like to take, and they suggest you call out a time frame within 24 hours, like a 20-minute, a 30-minute. You take a break and you go do something that is not thinking about it. Like, you go watch a YouTube video, you read a book, you make your bed, something where you're not focused, and then you come back and you revisit the conversation. And in any kind of repair conversation, which I'm guessing Noah and Abigail had, or Becca and Thomas, or whatever, like, the outcome has to be like, here's what I did that I would like to do differently next time. Here's what I'd like you to do differently. Okay, here's what I did that I would like to do differently. And here's what I would like you to do. And then you go, great, we grew from this. And so those kinds of emotional meltdowns are going to happen. It's how do you repair them afterwards?
Okay. In your years of coaching and seeing so many different types of people, what is back to the Becca situation, is this a real thing? Do women really sabotage or end a relationship because they say things are too perfect? Is that something that interesting? I
mean, I think it's funny. I was thinking about that this morning because I told you we sold our house yesterday, and it went so well. And it was like, I was in a moment of like, this is too good to be true. And I found like myself having these like fear thoughts. Like, I totally it was in my not my emotional highest self. And I was like, and I meditated, and I had this big breakthrough about like what part of me was in fear. And it was like a younger part that was sort of unresolved. And then I was doing my workout, which is when I get my big aha moments. And I was like, oh my God, this is what it's like for our clients when it feels too good to be true.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God.
Annoying, right? It's so annoying.
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong? You have everything. You sold your house. You're dating a 6'6" stud. Like, what in the world is wrong with this person? Yeah. And it's hard to like ask like you didn't mention to me just now, and we're buddies, right? It's got to,
it's like a receive. It's like I got to amplify my receiving, right? So I think that we have to. Gay Hendricks calls it like I think he calls it your love limit, or maybe that's what I call it. But he has this idea about like, we have to amplify our receiving level, right? Our abundance level, our goodness level, whatever it is, our identity, right? Because we have an identity that we can put a top on. And that can happen in love, and that can happen. And so that's really why clients work with us for a long time, is because they're dating and they meet this amazing thing. And it's like everything is happening. They're in flow, and they're like, the old set point is lower energetically, right? Or vibrationally, or what they're used to. And it feels really uncomfortable. And so I did a lot of spiritual work, in the 4 hours between the time I woke up and the time that I came to your place to record, because I had to leave my place. Yeah. So to really be into like really vanish that lower limit thinking. And so I think also with the Becca situation and the dating is that Thomas came in with a bad reputation. She says she wasn't really there to like find love. She was surprised. Like who knows what was going on for her? She had two, which I forgot when I did my research for the show today. I forgot Becca was the one who won the Bachelor in Ari's season. They're together. They do their little comeback visit, before the show airs. Apparently the winners get to they have like secret hideout rendezvous so they can stay connected right before the show airs. Okay. And they went to their first or second one, and she's engaged to this dude, Ari, and he comes in, he's like, I have to tell you something. And he breaks up with her because he realizes the second runner-up is who he should be with.
Yeah. Oh.
Which, by the way, he's married to that woman, and they have 2 kids together. So he did the right thing. But so she got broken up with there. Then she was the Bachelorette. She wins. She dates that guy for 2 years. That ends. So I get she's like, you know what? Like I've been on these 2 shows where I like get engaged, and she was probably like, I'm not doing that a third time. No need to do that. I gotta go. I don't even know if you're my person. So what all this means is like when everyone is having a reaction, you have to like, as much as you can, your history, if you're not emotionally intelligent, if you're not conscious, if you're not doing this work, your history will literally present itself and you will just keep repeating, or you'll be in fear. And that is the opposite of love. And then you're not going to get what you came for. Got it. What do you think about that?
I love it. You're right. No, I get it. So is this like when we get in that, I guess, it's too perfect syndrome. Is this like step 1 of multiple steps? Is this in the same category as like what is general self-sabotage? I don't know if this is, you know the answer to this, but are these different animals, same animals?
I think we've talked about sabotage a lot this season of the show because we saw Abigail doing it. We saw doing it a lot. And Marissa also
really wants to.
Tammy, right? Like choosing the unavailable guy. Get
COVID on her birthday. Yeah.
Got COVID on her birthday and all of that. And so I think it's really normal. And really, honestly, it comes up and shows up in lots of different ways when you're in the transformational process, because you're energetically going to go to your defaults if you're not constantly mindful. And the universe will keep showing you what you need to learn. If you're lucky, you'll figure it out on your own, but it can take years. It's helpful when you have like feedback and support and mindfulness so that you can catch it in the moment and then be able to adjust. Right?
And it's worth noting, it's not like you said, feedback, and worth noting, reminding. I know you said this almost every episode. Your echo chamber of your single friends are not always your best support group and advisors.
They're not, especially when you pull an Abigail and you're like, oh my God, you're not going to believe what the shit that just happened to me. Where a coach or a therapist is going to be like, okay, well, like ask a good one, by the way, ask you some high quality questions. Because it was amazing. No one was like, well, like, what did you do? Like, is there a reason why he might have thought that? Like, what pattern are you in right now that it might be making this bigger than it is, or that is what's the right word, making it worse, like right. So I think that is a really important thing. All right, so last thing is, when should you say I love you to your man? Because what I think is really cute is Serena decides she's going to tell Joe she loves him. And he has a big romantic moment. I think that he was going to say, I love you. They said, I'm falling in love with you. Yeah. And then they're just rolling around on the couch. She's like, Joe, I love you. And he's like, really? You're saying it now? I was going to tell you tonight. I thought that was so cute. And the thing is, like, I don't know. I think that I might be more open-minded about who has to say it first than I probably could have been in the past. Because when I was dating Jeremy, I was like, I am not saying it first. I waited like 5.5 months.
Why was that? What was going on in your life?
I just felt like, I think what I was doing was like, I'd always been the one who was like in my past codependent and the one who was like very needy and pick me. And so I would be like, do you love me? Do you love me? I love you.
Yeah.
Right. Like very much like leading the way on that.
Yep.
And in Jeremy and the relationship that we were building over those months, I was really allowing him to take the lead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I just really wanted that practice. I don't think, though, that if someone said, can I, does a guy need to say it first? I'm going to say no, because I've had a lot of clients who I've coached and they've said it first. And the guy's like, oh, me too, or whatever it is. And so I even had one client who's been on this show, Julie, who she said it and the guy was like, I'm not there yet. And because she was working with us, she didn't sabotage it because the old her wanted to be like, well, then fuck you.
Right.
Right. And they had a conversation. And then literally like a month later, he was like, I really love you. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I think that we have to let go of the rules about it. It just needs to come from a place of wholeness rather than a place of fear.
Mm-hmm. And what if the person just gives you crickets back? Or, it's unrequited and they don't.
If they don't do it, like, that's why I'm not mad at Noah for breaking up with Abigail on the show, because like we talked about it, he said it like 2 or 3 times and she was like, what? So I think if someone doesn't reciprocate and they're not in the process. So my client, Julie, her boyfriend at the time, they're still together like 4 or 5 years later. He was in it. He was like, I want to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I need to really look at this for myself. And she was like, that's cool. And that's what Joe loves about Serena is even though she's 23, she's very emotionally mature, right? So like even at the end, that ending was so bizarre where like he's going to propose and they bring his ex-girlfriend out just to be like, okay, I have closure. And he's like, I didn't need to know that, but thanks.
He's so nice. Is he too nice?
I think this time his hug was even faker. He didn't hug her right away. And he was just and then he took a walk to kind of clear the air. And then he came back. But what I loved was that Serena, like he's like, Kendall came and she goes, oh, Are you okay?
Yes, babe. That was massive. That shows so much, how stable she is and how she doesn't personified and make it about her. And like, I thought that was, I'm glad you caught that. I was like, whoa, that's fucking huge. She had this, the security to say that without being like, are you like, what? Oh, no, freaking out or thinking he's going to like, what would Marissa have done? Riley's like, she would fucking broke down and
I don't know. The one thing I like about their relationship too is they're very playful. And I think that's really fun. They like really get each other. And so there's a lot of joking around and like giving each other shit is kind of part of the dynamic of their relationship. Whereas with Joe and Serena, that's not too much maybe a little bit. But I think that playfulness and caring is if you're going to stand up and, get engaged on a television show. And I loved all the boys were so nervous.
I know.
Their hands were like shaking.
I was shaking.
I know. And it was, I don't know if they're nervous because they're on TV or it's like a really big decision, but to me, it was authentic.
Yeah.
And I liked like a skosh of authenticity, whether it's TV nerves or, oh my God, I'm proposing nerves. I liked seeing the humanity of these dudes. Okay. Last thing, we have to fit it in. Our episode's going so long, but this wasn't on your list, but this was on my list. Can somebody change? Because Kenny, the whole last night, I was like, oh, Jeremy, Chris loves Kenny. Kenny's like saying, like, I was this guy who was a player and no one ever thought I would, settle down or want to have a wife or a family, whatever it is. And something has changed. You've changed my life forever. And I think he asks really good questions, and I think he seems self-aware. So do you think, especially with your own story, do you think Kenny can change, or is he just like high on the juice right now, and he's going to be out of there before a matter of time. Like, can Mari trust Kenny?
Yeah. Trust. I do. I do think that, I do think Marni can trust Kenny because 40-year-old Kenny, I don't know if she could have trusted, definitely not 25-year-old Kenny or 30 or 35, but I do. I think the way his actions were, meaning like how he was able to, to handle the Demi situation, and who else would he hooked up?
He went on a date with Tia and got naked.
Tia and got naked. Okay, all right. Yep. And he's not. Yeah, he does seem to have what I loved about him. He does seem to have clear boundaries. He's okay. He didn't, doing what's good for him and loving. He does seem to love Kenny. And he mentioned something which I thought you'd be like, fucking red flag, blah, 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 huge red flag. And I do agree. He said, did you catch? He said he's never told anybody that he's loved them.
Yeah, I was like, what?
That's massive.
But he also said his family, I couldn't make out because he got bleeped, I don't know what he was saying, but he said his family doesn't say I love you either. So
right, yeah, but I felt like, so that's when, normally you'd be like, he's 40 years old, like that's super, run away, ladies, right? If you heard something like that, like he's never going to. But I feel that because of that, and I do understand, that he took the gravity to it, and he's not just saying words for words. And I think one thing about Kenny is, he's always, he's gone. He's his own man by now, and he'll be naked if he wants to be naked, or make out, and then and breaks up with people, and he does it respectfully with that. So I don't feel like he didn't seem like a child or a fuck boy, or didn't he didn't gravitate, didn't have those Aaron and James vibes anymore. So I do think, and I think she's an old soul. I looked at a little internet stalking. She's been like a pageant girl her whole life. And I don't know, she does seem like pretty mature, and she's done two things, but not a single like big booty butt picture on there thirsting for the Instagram, or you're trying to get her Fabletica boxes or all that stuff. Yeah. So I do kind of feel like, man, maybe they kind of are, what's the word when some are, people are more spiritually on the same age and not so much.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I'm going to keep voting for Kenny and Mari. And I thought Kenny was a standout when we first met him. And I think that I also hope, and this is related to the show, but I hope they cast more. I hope they don't, I hope they cast more grownups like Joe and Kenny. And that, we don't need to have a 40-some-year-old bachelorette like Claire Crawley just to get those kind of guys, because apparently they can find women and that are there. Maybe they'll get a 31-year-old bachelorette again, or 35 or something. But I enjoyed the run on these older guys and watching them be on this show. And I thought that was awesome.
I felt like what was great about this, this older gentleman, I felt like he lived life on his own terms and didn't feel, like he had to, but he lived it in like a respectful way. There was no gamesmanship. You didn't see any of that sneaky stuff like that Thomas and Carl or Ivan. You never got any of that from Kenny. You'd be like, oh yeah, that guy was the biggest slut bag. We could joke around with it, but he did it all in like a very truthful, open. Everything was, transparent. And I think that, I do get the feeling that, when he says what's on his mind, he's not overly complicated and conniving sort of. So he does seem trustworthy on that, which is a supportive, considering how much of a huge red flag it would be if you were dating somebody and I found out they've never said they love somebody. Yeah,
no, I think it's and that just shows the context. And we always talk on our campus about, extending a guy goodwill and credit, like what has he earned? And I think that, so it's really important. Don't rule someone out when you're dating ladies. Like, oh, well, he was never married and he's 40, or he was this, or he never that, or he doesn't talk to his mom. Like all these rules that we make that are going to make us feel like we're being safe. But it's all about context. It's all about extending goodwill and credit, because you might miss a really great guy if you have too many rules. This was amazing. It was an amazing season after 2 years. We're so happy to have it back. I wish I could say I was super excited about Michelle's season for Bachelorette. I'm not, but I'm sure I will once you and I watch it together. I say that all the time.
You do make a montage of every.
I know. Every time where I go, I'm like, wah, wah. They did like a previews, and I was like, who are these guys? I don't care.
Everybody, it's just Marni's. That's how Marni is.
I know.
You changed your pessimism from relationships now to Bachelor.
I know, exactly. It's so funny.
In the end, you're just a big soft lover. You're able to suss love out of everything.
I do. It's been super, super fun. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks talking about lessons you can learn to be a better dater in the real world from what is happening in the reality world. True. Whatever you do, ladies, do it with some damn dignity. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP, that's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes, and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to DWDVIP.com. I'm Marni Battista, and let's talk soon.